Members, this is the appointed time and we have a quorum, so let's call this meeting to order. Item 1, information papers issued since the last meeting. There are 3 papers. You will find details in item 1 of the agenda. Item 2, items for discussion at the next meeting. Review of fees and charges under the Civil Aviation Aircraft Noise Certification Regulations, CAP 312A, the Hong Kong Air Navigation Fees Regulations, CAP 448D, and the Air Transport Licensing of Air Services Regulations, CAP 448A. Another item to discuss is preparatory work for the commissioning of the Three-Runway System and the emergency response mechanism of Hong Kong International Airport. So items 1 and 2 on the list of outstanding items. We've also received a letter from Mr. Gary ZHANG. He asked for a joint meeting to be held with the panel on transport to discuss the recent incidents at the Hong Kong International Airport. Having liaised with the administration and discussed with Chair of the Transport Panel, Mr. Ben Chan, the panel on transport will be invited to attend our next regular meeting. That is to say, a joint meeting will be held to discuss not only the preparatory work for the commissioning of the Three-Runway System, but also the emergency response mechanism of the Hong Kong International Airport. Any views? No? All right. Item 3, update on Hong Kong Disneyland Resort. Let's invite the administration and representatives of the Hong Kong Disneyland Resort to come in.
歡迎啊，楊局長。
Welcome, Secretary Mr. Kevin Yeung.
Thank you. 沈專員各位，
I thank the administration and representatives of the Hong Kong Disneyland Resort for coming to our meeting. The Secretary will deliver the opening remarks, okay? Members, please don't press the button requesting to speak yet. Let me update members on the operation of the Hong Kong Disneyland Resort, Hong Kong DL in fiscal year 2023, covering early October 2022 and the end of September 2023. In the first 5 months of the financial year 2023, from October 2022 to February 2023, that is to say, the operating environment was affected due to the COVID-19 epidemic. The Hong Kong tourism industry began to recover at full speed starting February 2023, bringing a steady return of inbound visitors. Now, the Hong Kong DL also performed quite well, with increase in attendances. Throughout the year, the number of attendances increased to 6.4 million, representing an 87% year-on-year increase in total attendance. Now, in terms of earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, the EBITDA performance have improved significantly by 83% year-on-year. What is worthy to note is that these figures cover only up to September 2023. It doesn't cover the situation including the commissioning of the first ever attraction relating to the movie Frozen, called The World of Frozen, which was just launched in November 2023. Between January and March 2024, the earnings also recorded presidential high. We have a very good start, which is a very encouraging sign for the tourism industry in Hong Kong. Mr. Michael Moriarty will give you more details in a moment. The Hong Kong DL is an important tourist attraction. Apart from making Hong Kong an attractive tourist destination, over the years it has also helped bring in revenue. That's close to 129 billion Hong Kong dollars cumulatively. We've also The Hong Kong DL also created a lot of jobs in different areas. The Hong Kong DL also looks after different sectors of the community. I understand that the Hong Kong DL has been sparing no effort in promoting the integration of art, culture, and tourism. For example, in January this year, it held a concert called Disney Classic Live in Concert Presents Lang Lang, and then in cooperation with the Hong Kong Ballet, performances were rolled out in subsequent months called Stella Lo's Wonderful Wishes ballet performance. The Disneyland 10K Weekend 2024 will also be held later this year with a new experience of running through the new world of Frozen for the first time. The government is fully confident in the potential and long-term development of the Hong Kong DL. Hong Kong DL will continue to play its role as a very important tourist attraction in Hong Kong. It will also roll out different schemes such as the remaining of the expansion project, which will create quality jobs. It will also collaborate with partners in the tourism industry. I will now give the floor to Michael to give you more details of the situation of the Hong Kong DL, and then we'll take questions from members.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you may know already, during calendar year 2023, Hong Kong Disneyland Resort turned profitable. Not only have we emerged from COVID triumphant, but we have turned the corner financially. We have entered a new era for Hong Kong Disneyland, and I am extremely proud of all that we've accomplished in the lead up to our 20th anniversary, achieving profitability in the calendar year 23, and our rebound in visitors outpacing the overall Hong Kong tourism market. As I mentioned, we began to see a quick recovery as soon as travel restrictions were lifted. Our guests returned with a newfound excitement, and our business momentum has been positive ever since. While local attendance remains strong, all the unique offerings and strategies we put in place during COVID have given us a boost to our non-local attendance. The orange line shows Hong Kong Disneyland's rebound in non-local attendance, while the green line represents the recovery in total visitor arrivals to Hong Kong as compared to 2018 levels. You can see that since March 2023, we have enjoyed an accelerated recovery, and that our overall recovery remains well above the market, even before the launch of the World of Frozen and throughout 2023. The World of Frozen, without a doubt, has further supported our success. And the love of the Frozen franchise around the world and in Asia has kept our momentum growing even higher. And the strong momentum continues. The first quarter of 2024 was our most successful quarter ever, achieving record levels of revenue, EBITDA, and net income. Now, these records are not the result of just one thing, however. They are the result of our amazing cast members, the power of the Disney brand, which all come together to provide amazing experiences and creating lasting memories for our guests. Through a series of record-breaking achievements fueled by creativity and innovation, including a new signature offerings, including the reimagined Castle of Magical Dreams, our nighttime spectacular Momentous, and most recently, World of Frozen, we have become a draw card for Hong Kong tourists. According to a Hong Kong Tourism Board survey, Hong Kong Disneyland Resort is the #1 paid attraction in Hong Kong among overnight visitors, and the third overall tourist destination, only behind TST and the Peak in 2023. Also, according to the same survey, among our visitors, 52% said that Hong Kong Disneyland is their main reason for coming to Hong Kong. And we're more than just a driver for tourism. We're a major economic driver, job creator, and become a part of the social fabric of Hong Kong. In terms of economic impact, over the past 18 years, total direct and indirect value generated by Hong Kong Disneyland amounted to nearly $130 billion. In terms of job creation, the resort has created over 290,000 jobs cumulatively. And as of right now, we have over 9,000 cast members. We are a part of the community we live and work in by collaborating with NGOs to make a difference right here. Our Disney volunteers have contributed nearly 120,000 hours delivering happiness, support, and comfort to the community. And last year, we provided more than 100,000 complimentary theme park tickets to underserved communities. In fiscal 23, Hong Kong Disneyland delivered a solid financial performance across the board with strong growth compared to the prior year, despite the lingering effects of the pandemic. Local guest affinity for the resort continued to grow. With fiscal 23, we enjoyed historic high local attendance, including a record high attendance among young adults and students from the Disney Youth Program. Overall attendance grew 87% to 6.4 million, and total hotel utilization for the year was 77%. We saw a strong rebound among our non-local guests too, particularly those from mainland China in the second half of the year. And in 2023, the resort welcomed its 100 millionth guest since opening. Our guest spending has significantly improved, with in-park spending growing up to 54% compared to prior year. We also posted double-digit growth in guest spending when compared to pre-COVID levels. The growth is driven by our strategies delivered over the past few years, bringing elegant and sophisticated products that are elevating and completing our guest experience. Our guests are spending more, and the vast majority, over 90%, are saying their Disney experience is good value for money. So, despite the impact of the pandemic during fiscal 23, our revenue grew 156% to $5.7 billion. EBITDA improved 207% to $924 million, and we closed the gap on net loss by 83% to $356 million. As I mentioned before, we were profitable during calendar 2023, and this chart shows you that the fiscal year is really a story about pre- and post-COVID. You can see that we turned it around and became profitable in the second half of the fiscal year, which is from April to September. And as I mentioned to you before, Q1 24 was a record quarter, and the launch of the world's first and largest World of Frozen has contributed to fuel our positive business momentum and profitability. In addition to profitability, another key milestone is that the resort has fully repaid the revolver facility funded by the Walt Disney Company in December and has not drawn on it since. As you can see here, the World of Frozen represents our finest example of exceptional storytelling that Disney is known for. It is rich with captivating stories, state-of-the-art technology, beloved characters like Anna, Elsa, and Olaf, and of course, the enchanting music and the unique Hong Kong landscape. We also joined forces with local art and culture groups, bringing the best of Disney and local talents to our guests. These shows enhance both the overall park experience and the brand image of both. We have established a new Christmas holiday tradition in recent years with Disney Live and Concert Series, and for the first time we collaborated with world-famous pianist Long Long and a talented string quartet for an exclusive show in front of our beautiful castle. Over the past few years, our partnerships have spanned across the Hong Kong Philharmonic Orchestra, Hong Kong Ballet, Hong Kong's Children Choir, and many top local talents. Our collaboration with the Academy of Performing Arts has also grown from strength to strength. We are also big supporters of Hong Kong's sports development. Our flagship mega event, Disney's 10K Weekend, is popular not only among locals but visitors from around the region. We are proud to say that this year the Magical Run will be running through the Kingdom of Arendelle for the first time. We are also champion sports development by rolling out youth sports training initiatives and supporting those in need. As part of our commitment to nurture talent in the area, our signature annual design competition, the Disney Imaginations Design Competition, was extended to youth in the Greater Bay Area this year. And once free of COVID restrictions, we resumed our large-scale community service programs. We supported the Strive and Rise program and many other NGOs. The resort also joined hands with local hospitals, bringing hope and happiness to young patients with a Disney touch. Inclusion is a value that goes back to Walt Disney's core philosophy when he first dreamed up the idea for Disneyland. As champions of that vision, we worked with NGOs to bring sign language and theatrical interpretation into our highly popular shows and scholarships to young artists with disabilities. Environmental conservation is also a part of the way we work. Hong Kong Disneyland Resort is already home to the largest single solar panel site in Hong Kong, and we are continuing to grow. All of this, the milestones, the achievements, the community work, cannot happen without the support of our amazing cast members. Since opening in 2005, we have remained one of Hong Kong's largest employers in the tourism and entertainment industry. In fact, more than 2,000 of our cast members have been with us for more than 10 years. In March, we held our first ever service celebration to recognize these cast members. We feel lucky to work with the best team in the business and get to create magical moments like these for our guests and for each other every day. Again, I want to thank all the members for their support through the years. As we enter our 20th anniversary next year, we look forward to shining even brighter as Hong Kong's beacon of tourism. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. 各位可以撳掣啦。
All right, Q&A time. You can press the button. Well, we have a lot of people wanting to ask questions. Andrew Lam, Adrian Ho, Jeffrey Lam, Doreen Kong, Sunny Tan, Edward Leung, Dr. Chairman Kong, Chen Siu Hong, Michael Tan, Yong Hoi Yan, Dominic Lee, Luk Chung Hong, Yim Kong, Yu Pak Leung, Robert Lee have all indicated that you want to ask questions. So 15, or is it 16 now? 16 in total. 4 minutes each. And Mr. Chow Ho Ting, 4 minutes each. So starting with Andrew Lam. Thank you. First of all, I would want to congratulate Hong Kong Disneyland. In the past 1 year, you've been able to have very obvious and rebound in your performance, and that is worthy of celebration. But at the same time, it is still recording a loss, and this is an issue still. Now, in terms of operation results, I would want to look into the following. First of all, if we look at the liquidity, if we look at the trajectory starting from 2014 to 2019, those 5 years, it was in a upward track in order, and also shareholder equity as well. But then it had come down after that, even though liquidity was better at so it's grown to 1.19 billion from 972 million. But on the other hand, shareholders' equity, I don't see an upward trend. So my question is, for the next 5 years, say, in terms of shareholders' equity, in terms of liquidity, what are the projections, please? How do you see the future, let's say, within the next 5 years? Thank you, Chair. Now, Chair, perhaps I will say a few words before we ask the Park to answer the question. Now, in the past few years, we do see that, let's say, from 2019, because of the COVID situation, the visitors into Hong Kong Disneyland had dropped. For local visitors going to the park, of course, their spending would be lower than visitors from outside of Hong Kong, and therefore the revenue would be lower, and it would not be making a profit. And therefore, the shareholders' equity would decrease because it is loss-making. And so there would not be a balance. And that is because of the effect of COVID, the epidemic. And you would see that for Disneyland, they have already said that in the first quarter of 2024, it was the record best year for them. So at present, we are confident about this year, that they will be performing well. And we would want the numbers to show an increase in shareholders' equity as well. Anything to add, Mr. Moriarty, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, as you mentioned, 2014 to 2019 were upward trends in terms of liquidity, which has been very helpful. I think even now, as we emerge from COVID, we're very happy with the trajectory and the momentum that we're seeing right now. As we mentioned before, during the second half of the fiscal year, we were positive, contributing to positive retained earnings in that period. But also what we're seeing right now is continuing to outpace the growth in Hong Kong's overall tourism recovery. I think that combined with our continued momentum and profitability with Frozen provides us with a lot of optimism for the future.
Just a quick follow-up question. Even though it was not answered as to the next 5 years of projection, perhaps I should ask a question about operation in the next period of time. Do you see any particular negative factors that you want to share in this meeting? Mr. Moriarty, please.
Madam Chair, when we visit the markets, whether it be Southeast Asia, mainland or North Asia, we see very positive signs for Hong Kong's tourism. I think that the overall recovery is very much tied to travel to Hong Kong, whether it be air flight capacity or what we've seen positively in terms of cross-boundary traffic in the GBA area with greater access points, high-speed rail, the bridge, of course, all providing positive benefits. So I think that where Hong Kong might be slower than other markets in recovering from a tourism standpoint, I think we look at it as a tailwind right now, and that Hong Kong will recover.
何敬康議員。
Next. Adrian Ho.
Hong Kong Disneyland has recorded a very good first quarter 2024, having record new net income, EBITDA, and revenue, largely attributable to the world of Frozen. Could you tell me the revenue breakdown between Frozen and all the other older attractions, and how do you see the older attraction perform in the next few years, given that Frozen is going to take the lead? The other thing is that could you also give us a teaser about expansion plans in terms of upcoming attractions? Another thing is that I can see that per capita spending has increased significantly year on year. What are the plans to further increase per capita spending in the next few years? And could you also tell me the breakdown between local tourists, tourists from mainland China, as well as international tourists? And also give us a financial outlook in the next 5 years, and also debt repayment and dividend plans. The other thing that I'm also very interested in is the Disney cruise that we all know that Singapore landed the Disney cruise and has signed a 5-year contract with the Singapore government. And the question back to Secretary Yang is that, are there any plans to get it back in 5 years' time, number one? Number two is that, having said that, during these 5 years, are there going to be any synergies to work with Disney Cruise to either bring cruise members on board to Hong Kong, as well as other kind of synergy plans with Hong Kong Disneyland? I guess that's it, Madam President.
主席，或者我先答咗嗰個。
Perhaps I'll answer the question on the cruise first, and for the other figures, Disneyland will answer those questions. Now, why am I picking up the question of cruise? Now, the management company is responsible for the operation of Disneyland. For cruise, it is another part within the Disney group. And we have been speaking with different cruise companies in the past for anything that is beneficial to the development of Hong Kong's economy. We would want to bring to Hong Kong, and these negotiations will continue. Mr. Moriarty, please, next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As it relates to the overall revenue for the world of Frozen, I think it's important to recall that our recovery started to outpace the market as soon as travel restrictions were removed, and we became profitable even before the world of Frozen was opened up. Certainly, the world of Frozen has added to and contributed to continuing momentum going forward, as well as profitability. As it relates to the specific breakdown of revenue, as you know, we have one ticket price every day for our guests, and it's not necessarily broken down by Frozen. That being said, Frozen has had a significant impact on our park, and it continues to do so. As it relates to expansion, you might recall that Frozen was just one part of a multi-year expansion that the shareholders had agreed to and lawmakers here had approved, including Moana, Ant-Man and the Wasp, the Castle of Magical Dreams, Follow Your Dreams daytime show, the nighttime spectacular Momentous, World of Frozen, and of course Marvel. The shareholders are already working on the Marvel expansion. Not only that, but we are focused on our 20th anniversary coming up, which will also have product within it. And the shareholders are in discussions for additional attractions between Marvel and the 20th anniversary.
Okay, good. Thank you. 林健鋒議員。
多謝主席。
Jeffrey Lam. Thank you, Chair. I'm very happy to note that the Disneyland is turning positive. Well, it is not easy to operate a theme park. The visitors have been dwindling for the past years coming into Hong Kong, but we do see step by step that there are more and more visitors coming into Hong Kong, and there are policies in Hong Kong as well, which would attract more investments into Hong Kong, with more headquarters setting up in Hong Kong, with more people coming into Hong Kong long term to work in Hong Kong. And all these will contribute to visitorship to the Disneyland. Now, for Frozen, after it was launched last year, it had increased visitors. Of course, Frozen is a major attraction. But at the same time, we need to be careful because with warming, global warming, and we must not let Frozen melt. And also, we note that for the Japanese market, apart from Frozen, there are a couple of new items or rides as well. So what are some of the new plans for Hong Kong Disneyland to maintain its attraction? This is something we all want to know about. And also in maintaining the quality and also in manpower. That is, the manpower employed in the theme park. These are areas of our concern as well. As you know, Hong Kong, everybody's vying for manpower. We know that Singapore is snatching people from us. Will they come back to Hong Kong, these manpower, to Hong Kong in the near future? Also, Michael had talked about contribution to the Hong Kong community and also bringing in visitors from some of the community sectors or the needy sectors, and that's all very good. We hope that as you turn positive in your performance, we want to be doing more of that. There are sectors in Hong Kong who need that kind of special care. So can you talk about your plans? How can we maintain that attraction and how do we continue to be profitable?
Yes, Madam Chair. As it relates to our expansion, I think there's several levels that we approach. First of all, our special events throughout the year provide something new for guests really every day and every season. I think this summer's Pixar celebration is a fine example of that, leveraging the popular intellectual property coming out of the Inside Out. And of course, you may have heard that Inside Out is the most popular animated film this summer. In fact, it reached $1 billion in box office in just 19 days, the fastest of any animated film. And we'll keep refreshing those special events. But again, as I mentioned earlier, we have a pretty significant expansion during COVID, which many of the guests have not been able, in our target markets, have not been able to see yet. And so that is also a powerful draw card for us right now. Also, I think we're very much excited about the Marvel expansion, what we're doing for the 20th anniversary, and a new attraction in between that we're in discussions with the shareholders about. I think all of those, put together really, provide a significant draw to Hong Kong, and I think really will help Hong Kong tourism for a number of years now. As it relates to manpower, very quickly, I think we're very proud to say that we are one of the most popular employers in Hong Kong, and we've been first in line in many hiring situations. That being said, the market is very challenging, and we're looking at a variety of ways to make sure we retain and hire the best talent here in Hong Kong.
Ms. Doreen Kong. Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to know that the financial performance of the Hong Kong Disneyland has significantly improved. In recent months, they have made broken a number of records. In terms of tax revenue and polishing the brand of Hong Kong, I think the Hong Kong DL is making significant contribution. Now, I have 3 points. Some members asked about further expansion. Perhaps the secretary can give us an idea. Say, spatial-wise, is there space for Hong Kong Disneyland to expand further? Land is needed. We have 310 hectares of land for the Disneyland in Hong Kong. Now, in Tokyo, the Disneyland spans 490 hectares. So will there be room for further expansion for the Disneyland in Hong Kong? In terms of business performance, they have made significant improvements, and yet this year they are still incurring a net loss. Will the Hong Kong Disneyland give us a forecast? In the coming year, will it be possible to have a net profit? What is your projection? Last question relates to the visitor mix. Locals take up the largest share, followed by non-local tourists. Now, Secretary, will there be plans to promote the Disneyland to overseas tourists? Secretary, I will take the first and the third questions. Now, we join hands with the Hong Kong Disneyland in mounting promotion and publicity. The Hong Kong Tourism Board is responsible for outward promotion, and in the process, they also promote the Disneyland, including the new attraction World of Frozen. Similarly, the Hong Kong Disneyland also targets their respective markets in their promotion strategy in a bid to attract more visitors from the mainland and from other places. Now, on the point of expansion, we have land available, but we need to work out the details with the Hong Kong Disneyland to optimize the use of land, because we need to have regard the overall interests of Hong Kong people. At this moment, I can say that in the periphery of Hong Kong Disneyland, there are sites that have not been put to use. Mr. Moriarty.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll take the second question with respect to our confidence for 2024's fiscal results. As we discussed, first quarter this year was a record quarter for us, and our momentum, both in terms of revenue and profitability, continue to go on. I think this late in the fiscal year, I think we're confident in our position and how we're going to finish this year.
有冇跟進啊？
Any follow-up question? No, thank you. Next, Mr. Sunny Tan. Thank you, Madam Chair. Congratulations to Hong Kong Disneyland for the financial performance and visitor figures. We are reassured, at least about the possible deficits, and I think that this time we consider the longer horizon for the long-term development of the Disneyland. Now, recently we've been talking about Tourism 2.0, so I'd like to take a broader perspective, and that's the issue of land. The size of the theme park may not come as a big one. We're concerned about the number of attractions. Perhaps it could be packed nicely. And I'd like to know your future expansion plans. I'd like to hear from the Secretary or the representative of the Hong Kong Disneyland. Now, on capacity building, as you record increasing visitor figures, along with total arrival figures, we can also scale up Disneyland because we have a rather small theme park, and this may be a disincentive to attract visitors to come again. We have fans of Mickey, but for the younger generation, they may prefer Marvel heroes or characters in Pixar. So that's my first question. Second, There is a downtown Disney in Los Angeles. Will you consider something similar in our future development so as to diversify the visitor portfolio? I'll give the floor to Mr. Moriarty.
Thank you very much. As it relates to expansion right now, the world of Frozen, clearly, is driving a lot of business and excitement in the market for us right now. And I think the timing plays perfectly into our plans for the 20th anniversary, where we will introduce new products, and we'll be sharing that with the market later in the fall. I think what comes after that is a new attraction that we're working on with the shareholders right now. Again, popular IP will be considered with this, and certainly relevant to guests in our market. And I think the final phase of this expansion that we're working on right now will be the Marvel expansion. We're very excited about it. It's large scale. And we'll complete the phase 1 expansion that started in 2017. All of these will add much needed capacity to our resort, expand its size, as well as I think contribute to overall tourism and the strategy of Hong Kong's Tourism 2.0. As it relates to Tourism 2.0, Hong Kong Disneyland is poised and ready to contribute in any way to the success of tourism in Hong Kong. Hong Kong's success is Hong Kong Disneyland's success. Your question with respect to a downtown Disney or a retail dining and entertainment expansion, certainly merchandise and food and beverage expansion is a key component, or capacity is a key component to our guest experience in any of the parks around the world. And we're looking at market conditions and any opportunity to expand and provide capacity in that way.
冇嘢跟進啊，梁熙議員。
多謝主席。
No follow-up. Next, Mr. Edward Leung. Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to read the books here, but we need to be vigilant because in 2023, 65% of the visitor mix was 65. In 2019, however, close to half of them were non-locals. So the growth actually came from local tourists. And that's risky because just across Shenzhen River, a major theme park will be commissioned in Shanghai, followed by a major ski resort also in Shanghai. In Tokyo Disneyland, they have the Disneyland and also Disney Sea as well as Disney Sky, which will be commissioned next year. That means we'll be facing a lot of headwinds and competitions in the external environment. So next year, very likely, local visitors may go elsewhere because people have been going up north to spend money, to have meals. These are grown-ups, and then they will bring the children up north to spend time in theme parks as well. So about the theme park and the ski facility, what is the responsive strategy of the Disneyland, and how do you envisage the impact on the theme park to be? Now, about the second phase, I understand that sites have been earmarked for expansion. Will the Hong Kong Disneyland consider taking forward the expansion project in the coming few years? So these are the questions for the Hong Kong Disneyland. Another question for the Secretary. Will you contact the Disneyland and see whether the Disney cruise can come to Hong Kong as a stopover next year? Secretary, would you like to make a start? Yes. Simply put, we are putting our heads together. We will continue to discuss this matter. Now, for the land for phase 2, the government has taken possession. We will consider in a holistic manner any future plan. That means we will have regard the needs of the Hong Kong Disneyland. We will also have regard the optimal use of land for Hong Kong.
How will they affect you?
Madam Chair, thank you. As it relates to local attendance, we're certainly grateful for the record local attendance that we've seen during COVID, but also during fiscal 2023. And, I think there is going to be a natural balancing of local attendance, as I think you might expect. But as it relates to remaining relevant to local guests, I think the expansion discussions that we've had before certainly will play a bigger part in that. But, moreover, it's, providing more reasons for local guests to come throughout the year with our special events programs, as well as special promotions. One of the most popular with local guests, of course, is our Magic Access, which is our annual pass program, which really, provides guests with, a value proposition left to their own imaginations. It is really, it's these things, the combination of product, new product expansion, special events, and ticketing promotions that will keep local guests coming back to Hong Kong Disneyland. I also see, a different behavior in terms of local guests' enthusiasm for all of our brands in each of the special events. Most recently we finished the season of Marvel Superheroes, which was very highly attended amongst local guests.
周文港議員。
唔該晒主席。
Next, Dr. Chow Man Kwok. Chairman, in order to find new growth points for Hong Kong Disneyland, some members mentioned the visitor mix, and the conclusion is that we need to further promote the theme park to markets that at the moment are not attracting a lot of visitors. Now, the other point is that we need to further promote multi-destination tourism and intermodal travel. So that's a question for either the government or the Hong Kong Disneyland. Other ways to make collaborative efforts with other tourist attractions nearby, such as the Ngong Ping 360 cable car, shopping malls at the airport, so that you can jointly offer discounts and concessions, so that tourists will stay in Lantau and spend money for 2 or 3 days in a row. For example, some tourists may go to Macau, have fun in the casino, and then they can use the bridge, come over, and spend money in Hong Kong as well. So will you do something of this sort? The third question is this. Next year marks the 20th anniversary of Hong Kong Disneyland. Are there plans such as concessions for Hong Kong people as an expression of, a token of thanks? Because now that you're making a profit, will you offer concessions to locals?
Moriarty.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I spent a little bit of time talking about what we're doing to attract local guests and retain local guests, but we are very much focused on driving tourism not only in mainland China, but throughout the region. And in fact, as I mentioned earlier, we're the top paid attraction in Hong Kong in that regard, and really a major driver of tourism to Hong Kong, with 52% of our guests' primary reason to come to Hong Kong, being the visit to our resort. So we're going to continue to focus on that as well, increasing our mix of tourism, tourists from outside of Hong Kong, and bringing those guests here. As it relates to the 20th anniversary, our focus is really to celebrate Hong Kong Disneyland and the accomplishments that we've had over those 20 years together. Certainly, it will be a combination of new product for our guests to enjoy throughout the year. I think some of the product that we haven't had in the resort in a while. We'll also be looking very closely at suggestions like yours, including promotions for locals in other markets.
有冇嘢跟進，周議員？冇啦，好多謝你。跟住
No follow-up. Next. Chan Siu-Hong. Thank you, Madam Chair. For 2023, the financial year, actually starting from the calendar year December to September, for the first 5 years, it was affected by the boundary crossing restriction because of COVID. And then there was an increase in terms of visitors with over 4 million for local residents, and for non-local residents, it is better than the overall non-local visitors coming to Hong Kong. So those are positives. We hope that this trend will follow through. Now, there are a couple of points that we're concerned or want to focus on. First of all, the performance results of Disneyland. It's reflected that for the financial year for 22-23, actually there is a 8-month delay. In the PPT, it said for the first quarter of this year, it had been a record high in terms of EBITDA, profits, revenue, etc. So, Chair, I just want to know the following. Now, with all these new records made, record highs, can it be sustained till, May or March? And perhaps they will say in their answer that this is about commercial confidentiality and they not disclose it. But on the other hand, I think this is the performance of Hong Kong Disneyland, and Hong Kong Disneyland is not a listed company as such. And if they do a consolidated accounts back in their parent company, they would not be able to tease out the Hong Kong Disneyland part. But we need that kind of information so as to build our confidence in their operations. So let's say March or May, the cumulative performance, is it already in the black? Is it already profit-making? If that is the case, then we would be able to build our confidence on that. Even if the answer is as simple as, in your own results, is it already turning black? That is profitable. And also, for the paragraph 6 of your results highlights, it says that Hong Kong Disney has the potential to build Hong Kong into an iconic tourism landmark, and that seems to be very positive. But on the other hand, in promoting Hong Kong tourism products, for the Hong Kong SAR government, as Mr. Kevin Yeung had mentioned, if Hong Kong is promoting hand-in-hand with Hong Kong Disneyland, how can we integrate the two, Hong Kong and Hong Kong Disneyland? Let's say, will there be a Disneyland month? I mean, October, for instance, is Ocean Park Halloween month. Now, if this is such an important brand name for Hong Kong Disneyland, then I would say then there should be further efforts in joining hands with Hong Kong Disneyland in promoting tourism in Hong Kong. So I'm thinking of integrating with a series of tourism products in Hong Kong. Madam Chair, for the first question, for the parent company, it is a U.S. listed company. So there are certain restrictions in terms of information disclosure. Hong Kong Disneyland may answer that question later on, but I want to say that first. And secondly, in terms of publicity and promotion, we will be working together with Hong Kong Disneyland for sure. Now, whether there are certain thrusts in our promotion tying in with certain events in Hong Kong, we will be looking into that together with them. Well, you've asked too many questions, I'm afraid. You have exceeded your time. Next time, would you please be succinct with your questions? Michael Tian. Madam Chair, it's just shy of the 6 billion in terms of revenue from when it first opened in Hong Kong. That was the performance in the past period. So for EBITDA, it is also close to the 2018 to 2019 1.1 billion, just shy of that, and this is another positive. But I have two questions and one concern to share with you. For the latter, for the loss of 360 million, the royalty to be paid to the parent company, it is as high as 430 million, and that is very high. This is an equal treaty that we have signed with them? And for our royalty payment, can it be offset with the local Hong Kong Disneyland loss? And another question is, I'm not worried about the land area. The first phase of land is still not used up, but I'm worried about capital. And there is a 800 million in terms of injection, and that has been used up almost, with the frozen taking up 400 million of it, and loss over 300 million, and liquid assets is about a billion or so, and Marvel will also take up investment. So I do hope that the EBITDA every year will be $1 billion or so. But on the other hand, we do see a number of items coming up, and of course there will be maintenance and all sorts which have to be using up capital as well. I do not know whether Hong Kong Disneyland will be coming to the LegCo for further financial injection in the future. In terms of cash flow, I do not see, or do you have another capital account for the $10 billion? Now, for the frozen 4.2 billion, etc., it's used up quite a lot of the injection. So for the first 8 months, what was your total revenue? I'm sure you have that number. Just total revenue for the first 8 months. And compared to last year, what's the difference? If I see the difference, I will be able to project for this year how much profit you'll be making. I'm sure you'll be profitable this year. The question is with how much profit? So just give us the total revenue for the first 8 months. Kevin Yeung first. Yes, Madam Chair. First of all, I don't think the contract that we have signed with Disneyland is one of an unfair treaty or contract. The LegCo had approved that particular contract, and it was willing and fully approved by the LegCo. I just want to tell you about this. Of course, there are many reasons to why year on year there are profits or loss situations. So this is not the time to go into that. As for cost, yes, indeed, it is true. It is 10.9 billion that we are joining hands with Disneyland to make improvements. We have already spent 6 billion of that. And where there are plans for expansion, then on the original 10.9 billion, the government part, we will fork out the Hong Kong government part when the time comes. Right. Time has exceeded. Michael Tan, if you want to follow up with other questions, wait for the second round. Yong Hoi-Yan, please. Yes, Chair, I'm very happy to see the positive performance, and this is because of a very professional team and management. And we do see F&B, new elements, and also new offerings such as frozen, etc. All these provide new experience to visitors. And also for the mix of visitors, even though most of them are local Hong Kong visitors, but how do we make Disneyland into a place where it is a multiple-day experience for visitors coming to Hong Kong? In different reports, it says for Tokyo Disneyland and Hong Kong Disneyland, Hong Kong Disneyland, even though it is smaller, but all the details are very well done. And it is very warm, and it is very welcoming, and this is very special about Hong Kong Disneyland, how we compare and compete with other areas. And short waiting time, queuing time, all these are our competitive edges. Now, in terms of expansion and whether we can put some traces of Disneyland in other areas of Hong Kong, yes, these are opportunities. We can extend on that. My question is for the visitors to Disneyland, how can we make them stay in Hong Kong for a few more days? so that they can experience Hong Kong a bit more in their visit. So whether there's green tourism or looking into Hong Kong deeper, etc. So that's my question. How can Hong Kong work together with Hong Kong Disneyland so that visitors coming to Hong Kong can stay for a few more days and have more varied experience? Of course, it's good to make spending within Hong Kong Disneyland, but how can we let it kind of flow over to the rest of Hong Kong as well? And another question, there will be expansion in Marvel, etc. Now, in terms of giving back to the Hong Kong community for racial minority or some grassroots sectors of community, can you give us more color on that, please? Madam Chair, for the first question, it was about how we can keep Hong Kong tourists or tourists coming to Hong Kong for more than a day. Well, actually, staying in Hong Kong Disneyland is an option. There are hotels and also there are evening or night events as well. But overall speaking, we will be working with Hong Kong Disneyland on different aspects. For example, green tourism. We have a lot of culture and historic tours and features as well, and also West Kowloon. These are attractions. So how can we actually link up with Hong Kong Disneyland and together with these features and attractions? We have been doing that. How can we leverage on the attraction of Hong Kong Disneyland so that tourists can stay a day or more days in Hong Kong? So, Mr. Moriarty, next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As we look at our guest today, our guest mix as of right now is not what we saw during fiscal 2003. In fact, our non-local guests is a much higher percentage than we've seen before. And typically that behavior is that they do stay at Hong Kong Disneyland on average more than one day. And another typical behavior is after their stay with us, whether in the hotel or visiting the park, they do spend multiple days in Hong Kong. And I think that comes, one, with the attractiveness of Hong Kong overall, but also our cooperation with the Tourism Board and various promotions that they have, including mega events. As it relates to giving back, if I may, we are very dedicated and focused on giving back to the community, not just the 100,000 tickets that we've given away, but our partnership with Make-A-Wish. We work with the Federation of Youth, ethnic minority groups, as well as other youth groups here in Hong Kong. Thank you.
陸頌雄議員。
主席，首先
Mr. Luk Chung-hong, the word of praise. I thank the Disneyland for taking on board the views of this council. Last year, I asked Disneyland to incorporate local elements, and recently I've received souvenirs from the Hong Kong Disneyland showcasing the local characteristics of Hong Kong. So keep it up. Another point, in terms of per capita guest spending and park attendance, you have recorded some very good figures. Now, net loss of 350 million has still been recorded, but I see that this is already an improvement. Now, park attendance, despite the exemplary figure, I see a happy trouble. I took an afternoon off to go to the park with my son, and then we returned home early because we had to queue up for so long and the theme park was so crowded. So that's a happy trouble for you. So will there be enhancement measures on crowd control and better management? In the long run, maybe you're thinking about expansion. In the short term, how do you ensure that everyone will have a good experience? Because you may hear about criticisms of not going again because of the long queues. And then you will see a drop in park attendance. And then about non-local visitors, only 1/3 of park attendants were non-locals, so you need to step up publicity. How to make the Hong Kong Disneyland more attractive? Now, the Hong Kong government has a 52% stake. It's a collaboration. And then the Walt Disney Company from the United States also charges management fees and royalty payments. Now, Mr. Michael Tan referred to the problem with royalties, and it's very difficult to, or very little room to adjust royalties. What about management fees? Will there be room to adjust the fee level? Are you going to conduct a review on the mechanism and the fee level? For example, will you peg the bonus payment to senior management to the performance of the theme park so that more proactive measures can be taken by Hong Kong Disneyland to attract visitors as well as improving the books? A response from the government and the theme park, please. Who will take the questions? Let me address the point on management fees according to our arrangements. Now, the management fee level is pegged to a percentage of the EBITDA. In the absence of a positive figure, for the adjustable portion, the figure stands at 0. Now, of course, there is also another portion, but I would say that the large portion of the fees is pegged to EBITDA. Now, let me take the other question on park attendance. As pointed out by many members, in 2023, in terms of the visitor mix, there seemed to be a larger portion of locals compared to non-locals. In fact, if we go back to the slide, one of the slides showed you that in the second half of this year, locals made up 45% of total visitors. So you will see a substantial increase in non-local visitors. That's close to the pre-pandemic level. So we do envisage a similar pattern in the future. On crowd control, I'll give the floor to the management. I'm sorry, time is up. If you want to ask questions, press the button again. I need to be fair to all members. Mr. Yim Kong. Thank you. Madam Chair. I fully acknowledge the good work of the theme park in the past 2 years. Now, last year, there was a record high of 4.1 million park attendance, so that's a very good figure. Now, what's the portion of total revenue in percentage terms? And apart from mainland tourists, you should also target tourists in Southeast Asia. I think when it comes to the cost of traveling, the biggest portion must be flight tickets. Will the theme park consider rolling out joint promotion with flight carriers to make the Hong Kong Disneyland more attractive? Will there be a role for the Cathay Pacific to play in this exercise so as to, say, attract more transit passengers to stay in Hong Kong? I'll give the floor to Mr. Moriarty.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. As it relates to our overall mix, certainly we are grateful for the very strong local business, but our focus really is about bringing tourists into Hong Kong, especially during those other holiday periods. When we look at our the chart that we showed earlier, where we're outpacing the overall tourism market here in Hong Kong, really what that means is that the promotional efforts that we've had in Southeast Asia and in mainland China are driving a higher penetration to Hong Kong Disneyland than we've seen in the past. That is to say that our promotional efforts in Southeast Asia are relatively more effective than we have been historically, which is, I think, a sign of the strong effort that we've had there. When we look at partnerships with airlines, Cathay Pacific as one example, we're really focused on multi-channel strategy, including airlines, to tap into any market opportunity to bring guests into Hong Kong. When we are, I think the last question that you had was around the overall mix of our revenue. I think one of the things that we have seen is that overall guest spending has gone up. It's gone up relatively equally to what we have seen historically as we've introduced new pricing tiers, but also we've seen increases in merchandise and food and beverage sales, as well as introducing new product lines like Disney's Premier Access, a pay-for-privilege product, which is very popular with tourists. And when we add all of these things together, our overall value for money scores with our guests remains very high, 90%, but we've also seen increases in our overall guest satisfaction as well. And while it is a happy problem that we're crowded on days, we're also working very hard on making sure that we manage seasonality with other promotions like our Magic Access, which makes it more accessible, especially to local guests, as well as guests from Shenzhen or the Greater Bay Area to come during shoulder periods where it might not be as busy. Thank you.
有冇跟進？
Any follow-up question? No? No? Okay. Next, Mr. Yu Pak Lau. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm very happy to learn about the good performance of the Hong Kong Disneyland. It plays a very pivotal role in attracting tourists to come to Hong Kong. I have a number of questions. How many percent of visitors to the park were overnight visitors, and how many percent otherwise? I'd like to know how many visitors stay in the hotel in the park. Do you have any idea about the percentage of visitors who didn't stay for the night? Just for my reference. Hong Kong Disneyland is very flexible, responsive to changes, and creative and innovative, and I really appreciate that. Especially a new attraction was rolled out during the pandemic, which helped keep tourists in the theme park for a longer time. Because of this evening show, they stayed behind and had dinner before they left. So that helped drive growth in money terms. So it's a question for the Secretary. Now, this is the Disney Evening Light Show, and my question for the Secretary is whether this will give the government a good reference in revamping the Symphony of Lights show in Victoria Harbour for the government. And the other point is that the Disneyland has achieved great success in arts, cultural, and tourism integration, such as engagement with the Hong Kong Ballet and other organizations. You have fostered some very strong collaboration partners. You have also incorporated sports by organizing a run in the park. So I think the Hong Kong Disneyland can be a very good example for the rest of the industry for better integration between arts, culture, and tourism. Now, Hong Kong Disneyland should shine as beacon of tourism in Hong Kong. I do look forward to the good work of the theme park. We've heard some good news. It's really encouraging. The next point is how we make use of this brand to drive growth in the vicinity, the various tourist attractions in Lantau, for example, so that they also benefit from the process, and that there can be interactions between different services and products for greater effect. A lot of questions. We need to pause here. We're supposed to adjourn this meeting at 5:45. I need to extend this meeting to 6 p.m. Who would like to take the floor first? Secretary? Just very briefly. Chair? Well, in terms of the Victoria Harbour Light Show, we will make reference to all the successful examples. Mr. Moriarty.
Chair, according to the Hong Kong Tourism Board, we've seen an increase in the percentage of overnight vacation arrivals into Hong Kong as compared to 2018 levels, versus the same day arrivals. We're seeing a similar phenomena there among our guests being overnight vacation arrivals. When we look at the hotels, we see a lot of similar behavior there. Guests are coming overnight and staying with us, obviously. The majority of our hotel guests are from outside of Hong Kong right now, which is very different than during COVID.
Please continue. I can give you a few more minutes.
Okay, thank you. If I could get a clarification on the last question, it was the last question that you had?
Actually, I think the secretary.
Oh, I'm sorry. As it
answered that
relates
for
to
you.
working with people on Lantau, sorry. I think like Hong Kong, we have a lot of good materials, and Disney has a global brand that will help further put Hong Kong on the world's map. I think together we can work at really helping better Hong Kong tourism. We need to continue to highlight the strategic benefits of Hong Kong Disneyland being an international brand in an international city like Hong Kong. I think that will help attract families to Hong Kong, as well as a lot of good things to attract them, like the other attractions on Lantau as well.
Thank you. Li Weiwang.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Robert Lee. Thank you, Chair. Now, I learned about the updates on the Hong Kong Disneyland, and I've received some good news in terms of not only park attendance and per capita guest spending, total revenue. And in 2023, it's good news that positive figures have been recorded. Now, I have a number of questions. In the discussion paper, it is said that from 2022, the financing expenses increased from $33 million to some $80 million. That's 1.5 times jump. Has it to do with increase in interest rate? So I'd like to know from the financial point of view whether there would be measures to control the increasing expenditure in this regard, especially against a backdrop of high interest rates. The other point is this. I know that annual passes or other kinds of admission tickets are available. So I don't know whether you have a capacity limit. Will you roll out tickets targeting, say, visitors at night so that they can just come into the theme park, have dinner, watch the fireworks? You can give a bigger concessions. And then you'll be able to tap a new market, attracting a different segment. Now, the other point is about expansion. Is there any plan to provide more facilities within the theme park? And if so, will the government consider making use of the site on which the mobile hospitals were built so that Hong Kong Disneyland can take forward an expansion project? Secretary, why don't you make a start? We need to have regard the overall interest when it comes to land. As I said, we also need to consider the overall contribution of Hong Kong Disneyland to our economy and the tourism industry. So we will, I'm afraid we cannot disclose anything about land at this point. Mr. Moriarty.
Madam Chair, as it relates to the increase in the financing expenses, certainly interest rates played a big role in that. Very proud to say that the revolver facility has been completely paid off in December, which will result in lower financing expenses going forward. As it relates to capacity limits, we're always focused on making sure that we have a great guest experience for all of our guests. We have several products, especially for school groups that are half-day in nature, that help do this as well. And we'll certainly take your advice under consideration. Thank you.
Any follow-up questions? None. Holden Chow.
By your performance this year, and I think you did quite well on the penetration rate as to the tourists, but I'm quite concerned about the future competition with ZHANG, because in light of the fierce competition, the new entertainment facilities to be built in ZHANG, to be opened in Shanghai, what is the plan for Disneyland on any expansion plan, any new rides? I think you need this sort of stuff to attract tourists, especially international visitors. So this is my opinion. I do know that you have already provided your answer, but I think I need to assert this sort of opinion because I'm very much concerned about the fierce competition, the upcoming fierce competition. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Mr. Moriarty.
So as we look at the attractions that we've added in the past few years, when no one else was investing in attractions, frankly around the world, popular intellectual property, drawing with international appeal, drawing people to Hong Kong, Moana, Marvel. The new Castle of Magical Dreams and the nighttime show has really been a game changer for us, leveraging all the popular IP. But the world of Frozen as the number one Disney brand in Asia and all of our key markets has certainly made a big difference. And so those international brands, the popularity in all of our key markets are designed for one thing, bringing people into Hong Kong. And as you look at the lineup that we have going forward, clearly those elements are going to be embedded into our 20th anniversary celebration and everything that we do within that, really inviting people to Hong Kong Disneyland for the first time. As we look at the Marvel expansion, Marvel has global appeal, continued investment and support not only with Disney Plus in our key markets, but also theatrically is going to provide a lot of international appeal, drawing people in. And also, as I mentioned earlier, we're working on an attraction in between the 20th anniversary and Marvel, again, designed to bring tourists into Hong Kong. When you look at our competition, whether it's Shenzhen or elsewhere, it's hard to say that anyone has a lineup quite as strong as Hong Kong Disneyland against the competition in terms of the product. And it's important to remember that all of the things that we have open today, a lot of our key markets, the guests haven't even visited Hong Kong yet, so that it's going to be brand new for them as well. I'm very confident in the lineup that we have, and I hope that that people feel like they should have confidence in it too, as a key driver to tourism in Hong Kong over the next few years.
Any follow-up? None? I have a simple question next for Mr. Kevin Yeung. The 60 hectares of land next to Hong Kong Disneyland, I know they have the right of first refusal for this piece of land, but the time has elapsed, so the land belongs to the Hong Kong government now. So the Hong Kong government and the agreement with Hong Kong Disneyland, there are certain limitations. So what's developed nearby will have to be in coordination with Disneyland itself. So I would like to know, how are you going to develop that plot of land? What are some of your thoughts and what are some of the limitations for you? Well, perhaps later on the Commissioner can talk about the development of the land. And it is true that there are certain restrictions for the usage of the land. The philosophy behind is that it would not affect the theme park, its surrounding and its ambience as a theme park. For instance, there would not be a lot of high-rises built all around the theme park. But what is admissible as development plan, we would not have the information here. I will provide that information after the meeting. A question for Mr. Moriarty. Xiaohongshu would post this every day. And that is, there are a lot of people queuing up, but they say Hong Kong Disneyland is better than Shanghai Disneyland. So mainland tourists all say Hong Kong Disneyland is better than Shanghai Disneyland. Who can answer that question? Why?
Are best left for the guest. I think Hong Kong Disneyland has a unique position in place and is a uniquely different experience than Shanghai, which is also a very fine place to visit. It is very interesting now as we see social media shaping opinions in the market. That is an important piece of how we get our message out there. It is flattering to get feedback like that, and I know that Shanghai gets feedback as positive feedback as well. As it relates to our uniqueness, I think that, as I mentioned earlier, Hong Kong Disneyland has a very special place in Hong Kong in demonstrating its international flavor and international appeal to consumers who want that, which is different than, frankly, any other Disney park in the world. I think we are uniquely Hong Kong in that way, and I think we can help drive that perception among tourists into Hong Kong, as well as being extremely relevant to family guests throughout the year.
Okay, thank you. You are very protective of Shanghai Disneyland. 咁我冇嘢問咧，而家有兩位議員咧係第二次提問嘅，咁我哋有足夠時間。
All right, we have time for a second round for Michael Tian and Chen Xiu-hong, 10 minutes each. Thank you, Chair. I just want to repeat my 3 questions asked just now. The royalty is pegged to the total revenue and management fee is pegged to the EBITDA. So these two cannot guarantee that we have profits because we still have to take off the depreciation of investments, etc. So the depreciation will continue to be at high levels as we continue to invest. So my question asked previously is whether this peg has to stay. Can we not renegotiate? Because after all, the MTR renegotiates its FAM, Fair Adjustment Mechanism. It's been 20 years. Can we not renegotiate? Is it true? Is it going to be in perpetuity? That's the first question. Second question, I'm very happy to hear you say that the 10 billion is not used up yet. There is 4 billion or so which can be put into Marvel expansion, etc. So it's not just the liquidity amount. So this is important for us going forward. So a third point, Mr. Moriarty.
Total gate receipt, total income. Certainly you will have that. Can you just share with me the first 8 months total revenue versus last year's the first 8 months? Surely you can share that, right? 3個啫。
局長。
主席，我或者請樂園。
Madam Chair, I will have Disneyland answer the questions first. Mr. Moriarty, please.
Madam Chair, as I mentioned earlier, Q1 of 2024 was a record quarter for us of all time, revenue, EBITDA, and profit. As it relates to information going beyond that, I'm not able to share that right now, but I look forward to sharing that with the panel in our next session.
Okay, you can't even share that. Okay.
主席，或者我講一講，即係有關於佢嗰個專利費。
Now, as for the royalty and the management fee had been changed in 2009. We have, and it's now pegged to the EBITDA, and that is, if the EBITDA is a negative number, then there will not be any management fee. So it's not that it's cast in stone and unchangeable. But on the other hand, we have to see that Disneyland itself, its strength is in IP and how it can stand up to competition. Just now, it's been mentioned there are different attractions to be completed in Shenzhen. Well, for Disneyland, the IP is its main attraction. So I would say royalty fee is something that we have to pay. So your time's up. Mr. Chen Xiu-hong, 3 minutes, please. Thank you, Chair. Just to follow up on the question that I've asked, which was left unanswered, can the company provide the October 23 to March 24 numbers? Just now, the company said that they will provide those figures in the next meeting. It's fine if you don't have the information now, but perhaps you can provide the information after this meeting. So for your projections, let's say, is it possible that you will be profitable? And for financial year 2023 or October 2022, there was a 1.8 billion Hong Kong dollars revolver loan, and then it was completely repaid in December. I would like to know the interest payment therein. 2 questions, Mr. Moriarty, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As it relates to our overall profit position right now, I think, as I mentioned earlier, we were profitable in calendar 2023, and we had a record quarter in Q1, and that momentum and profitability continues. So I'm very optimistic about our profitability, going forward, especially this late in the year. And certainly look forward to sharing those results with the panel in next year's session. As we look at the interest rate for the revolving credit facility, it's based on it's a floating plus fixed basis. It's HIBOR plus 1.25, 125 basis points. Which is lower, in fact, than the other debt that we have, the other shareholder loan that we have on the balance sheet for the hotel.
Could you provide the supplementary information after this panel meeting on paper? Is it possible? And if it is not, what's the reason why?
The
For the
supplementary
profit, I mean, yeah.
on the profit.
EBITDA profit as well as the net profit that you claim that you have record high in the first quarter. So I understand that you don't have the information in hand. That I understand. But could you provide this supplementary information later?
I think, Madam Chair, I think that's a question that we would have to follow up with Secretary.
Okay. All right.
OK，
It's a follow-up.
冇第啲問題。OK，多謝晒。
主席啊，或者答以我所知。
Madam Chair, according to my understanding, because there is a U.S. listed company involved for this kind of numbers, before they officially announce these figures, it is not appropriate for us to disclose them. Well, I understand that if they have some interim reports, perhaps we can have those numbers. Madam Chair, if there's any public information available, yes, we will share those definitely. Madam Chair, can we spend a little time to talk about the restrictions for the usage of the land? Madam Chair, it's actually very straightforward, and that is for the contract. It will be in commercial, leisure, and culture. So it cannot be for residential housing use. We will provide you with a more detailed information later. Well, thank you, Mr. Moriarty. I join my colleagues in congratulating you.
Keep up the good work.
多謝。
下次會議其他事項冇其他事項。
Any other business for this meeting? None. Next meeting? What is the date? What is it? October. Right, so we'll see you in October. Thank you for coming to the meeting.